sorry, $42,000 extra, unless and you're gonna wait 5 years. In the meantime, you're gonna pay the taxes on it, insurance on it. If there's an HOA, you're gonna pay that. You might as well just rent a place. It depends. Yes, you can refinance. That's true. But in the meantime, you'll be paying higher rates. And when things really go bad in real estate market, finding stress bargains is a lot easier as well. And that's one of the reasons uh, I actually have my name on that mortgage. She didn't have enough income to qualify, even though she has the money. So I'm a co-signer on that loan, which means that affects my credit. If I wanted to buy a house around here, I don't qualify for it because I have a lot of payments, even though I have the income. And original plan, she was going to sell it last summer. And I said, don't just rent it out because you're going to end up getting $50,000 more than she has a house here. Summer of 21, it was worth around 600. Now you would be lucky if you can sell it at 550. You know, if you sell it at $50,000 loss, then she's gonna eventually make me pay for it. Even though she's my ex, she's still legally my wife. I'll pay for that in the actual divorce. I said, okay, I'm not gonna buy anything at these prices anyway, at these interest rates. It's a lot easier to rent something. And since a lot of people are not selling their houses, the rents are coming down too. At least depending upon where you are. She actually rented her place rather nice. She rented about 2 weeks ago. I mean, it's a large house, but it's in Lexington, Kentucky. It's not in La Jolla. 3,600, and she's paying about that amount for a two-bedroom apartment in La Jolla, California, because she has a tenant on the original property she bought until that guy comes out. I said, why not? It pays for your mortgage and other stuff, and less stress on me when the actual divorce time comes. Don't ask. She's been my ex, but my wife for the last 8 years. It's all because of the insurance, health insurance. But now she's going to live in California. Their health plans are much better compared to around here. You can't find a better ex than me, by the way. All right. Uh, let's see. Oh, okay. You can read the rest of the chapter yourself. Let's do some problems and talk about conceptual stuff as well. After we're done with those, we'll give a break, then I'm going to get started with chapter 7. And I want to spend a lecture and a half on chapter 7 as well. Okay, this is something you would know if you actually read the chapter. This is called the sinking fund. Sometimes bonds have provisions that says you're going to have a sinking fund. A certain portion of the initial proceeds are kept in reserve, and some of the bonds are redeemed early by lottery. So let's say I borrowed $100 million face value, and let's call that a 10-year bond. Every year, I'm going to put 10% of the initial proceeds in reserve. And at the end of each year, I'm going to randomly pick some serial numbers and retire those bonds early. An annual interest on a bond divided by the bond's value. That's the definition of current yield. We talked about that anyway. There's something is the stated interest payment on a bond. The coupon amount. I would also accept coupon rate on that one. Okay, we didn't talk about this, but this is true general of the securities. When you're a bond dealer, the way you quote prices, you have a bid price and an ask price. Bid price is the price at which you are willing to buy, you're bidding. Ask price is the price at which you're willing to sell. You are asking that price. Just like when you're selling a house, you have an asking price, right? If somebody pays that, you're willing to sell at that. The dealer buys at the bid price and sells at the ask price. Sometimes it's also known as the bid offer. And bid price is always less than the ask price. Okay, we didn't talk about this explicitly either, but again, reading the chapter helps knowing these things. Certain bonds have call provisions, which means after an initial period where they are call protected, the issuer has the right to call back the bond. It may be a 30-year bond, let's say, and typically call protection period is about a year. After a year, I can say, I'm going to give you your money back, bring me my bonds back. That's calling the bond. Okay? But typically, the price at which you pay for those bonds is called the call price. And the call premium is the amount by which market price exceeds the call price. No, I'm sorry, this is false. The call price exceeds the market price. No, that's not even true. The face value. So if the call price is 105%, face value is 100%, call premium is 5%. Again, I don't remember it exactly. When you read the chapter, you're going to see the definition. The description of any property used to secure a bond issue is included in the bond indenture. There are two terms when it comes to bonds that sound similar. One of them is debenture. Bonds in general are debentures. They're basically loan agreements. An indenture is the contract that contains the conditions of the bond. So if you're using a property to secure the bond as a collateral, description of that property has to be in the indenture. The price at which an investor can purchase a bond from a dealer is called the put price. No, that's called the ask price, because the dealer is asking that price and I can buy it at that price. The bond premium represents the profit of a bond dealer. No, what a bond premium is the difference between the value of the bond and the face value, and that has nothing to do with profit. If bond value is above the face value. If bond value is below the face value, the difference is called the bond discount. The real rate of return has been adjusted for inflation. True or false? Anyone? We just talked about it. It's the definition of the real rate of inflation. It's a nominal rate adjusted for inflation. Okay. Now this is true. Par value is another term for face value. So it's the amount by which the call price exceeds the par value or face value. In many cases, bond issuers say, okay, if I'm retiring these bonds early, I'm going to give you something. If the face value is 1,000, I'm going to pay you 1,005 or 1,050. That's the premium. Okay. Jeff just received an interest payment that is equal to 7% of his investment. This 7% is described as a clean return. There is no such thing as clean return. That's just, coupon yield or coupon return. The yield to maturity on a bond is the current required market rate. That is the definition of yield to maturity. The rate at which market is discounting the cash flows from the bond. And that could change all the time. As opposed to coupon rate, which is fixed when the bond is issued, and it stays the same. If inflation is expected to increase in the future, the term structure of interest rates will most likely be upward sloping. Let's kind of think about it. That's kind of the yield curve. This is time. This is the yield. Let's do kind of a real yields, okay? It's not terribly surprising that even the real yields are higher for longer securities with longer maturities. Why? Because when you buy a longer maturity bond, you are assuming a higher interest rate risk. For example,